As a 26-year-old woman, I had always been inclined towards a more solitary existence. This inclination grew after my parents' divorce during my teenage years. They swiftly transitioned into new relationships, as if they were playing a game of house, leaving me feeling like an abandoned puzzle piece that no longer fit. In the blink of an eye, I transformed from their cherished daughter to an awkward guest at their joyous family gatherings. The isolation weighed on me more than words could express. However, I managed to construct a life of my own, distancing myself from their facade of harmony. I secured a job, found a small yet comfortable apartment, and even welcomed a feline companion into my life. Just when I thought I had successfully detached from their world of make-believe, my parents suddenly started reaching out, expressing a desire to reconnect. A part of me yearned to believe it was genuine, but when my father clumsily mentioned a significant inheritance from my wealthy grandparents during a phone call, a harsh truth dawned on me. Their newfound affection wasn't for me, it was for the potential windfall. My grandparents' fortune was substantial, but there was a catch. They believed in the unity of family. The stipulation was that the inheritance would only be distributed when the entire family gathered for the reading, which included me, the family outcast. If I were absent, my parents would be left without a penny from the million-dollar fortune. It became evident that their sudden desperation to bring me back into the fold was solely for their financial gain. They begged and pleaded for me to accompany them to my grandparents' house, attempting to guilt-trip me with stories of family bonds and nostalgic memories. Yet I saw through their insincere sentiments. All they desired was to secure their future luxury. It was a bitter realization that my parents viewed me as the key to their inheritance, and I grappled with a whirlwind of emotions, anger, betrayal, and a sense of vindication, all warring within me. I faced a choice. I could make them suffer for their manipulation, neglect, and insincerity, or I could swallow my pride, play along, and ensure they got what they wanted. It was a challenging decision, but then it struck me. I had a unique opportunity to turn the tables on them. They needed me, not the other way around. I could play their game, make them believe they had won, show up at the reading, and then at the last moment, ensure they left with nothing. It was a devious plan, no doubt, but it was the least they deserved for using me as a pawn in their grief-fueled game. So, I agreed to accompany them to my grandparents' house, playing the dutiful daughter and acting as if I were none the wiser to their scheme. But I had a trick up my sleeve. I wouldn't let them succeed, and I wouldn't allow them to profit off my compliance. I reached out to my grandparents' lawyer to gain a clear understanding of the precise conditions outlined in the will. The lawyer confirmed that the inheritance was undeniably conditional upon the entire family being present during the reading of the will. If I chose not to participate, the entire fortune would be donated to various charities. This revelation filled me with a sense of power, but it also stirred an annoying feeling of guilt within me. Yes, my parents had manipulated and neglected me, but the question lingered. Was it morally right for me to deprive them of their inheritance out of spite? I was torn, my emotions oscillating wildly between righteous indignation and guilt, back and forth. I couldn't help but think about my grandparents, who had always shown me kindness and love. They were traditionalists, longing for family unity, even if it had become a mere formality at this point. Would they have wanted me to use their will to settle scores? This question haunted my thoughts, keeping me awake for many nights. A part of me yearned to honor my grandparents' wish for family unity, even if it was just a facade. However, another part of me vehemently protested, refusing to be a pawn in my parents' grief-fueled game. During this period, my parents were oddly attentive, checking up on me, inquiring about my life, and even inviting me for meals at their homes with their new partners. It was evident that they were trying to win me over. Yet their efforts only fueled my resentment. It served as a harsh reminder of the love and attention they could have given me but chose not to until money entered the equation. My bitterness grew, and my determination to carry out my plan intensified. However, amidst my resolve, I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling of guilt. I found myself trapped in a moral dilemma where, regardless of my choice, I seemed destined to be the villain in someone's eyes. After my conversation with the lawyer and my increasing interactions with my parents, I found myself engulfed in a whirlwind of conflicted emotions. To help navigate through this turmoil, I made the decision to seek professional help and began attending therapy sessions. In these sessions, I discovered an outlet for my resentment, hurt, and confusion, hoping to find clarity and peace amidst the storm of conflicting emotions. I began to unravel the depth of my emotions and how they were shaping my choices, particularly during therapy sessions. It was in these sessions that the idea of having a genuine conversation with my parents surfaced. Despite my initial aversion to the notion, I couldn't ignore the possibility that it might provide me with some closure. In addition to therapy, I confided in my closest friend, Leela, who had been my unwavering support throughout this ordeal. She echoed my therapist's advice, suggesting that I give my parents an opportunity to explain themselves. With a mix of apprehension and courage, I decided to attend a family gathering at my father's place. The atmosphere was as strained as I had anticipated, with my parents, their partners, and me, a picture of superficial harmony that belied the underlying tension. Amidst the discomfort, I seized the chance to confront my parents honestly. I confronted them about their neglect, their opportunistic attempts at reconciliation, and their lack of genuine remorse or effort to repair our relationship. I had hoped for a heartfelt apology or some sign of genuine regret, but instead, I was met with awkward silence, defensive responses, and feeble attempts to shift the blame. It was disappointing, albeit unsurprising. This encounter solidified my conviction that their sudden interest in me was solely driven by the impending inheritance. While it stung, it also brought a sense of liberation. I no longer felt compelled to maintain the facade of a happy family for the sake of my grandparents' will. So here I am, Reddit, still at a crossroads but armed with a clearer understanding of my emotions and my parents' motives. My determination to prevent them from profiting off my presence has only intensified. However, I couldn't shake off the guilt of defying my grandparents' last wish to see their family together. I want to express my deep gratitude for your continued support, advice, and diverse perspectives, which have been invaluable in helping me navigate this incredibly challenging situation. The past few weeks have been an emotional roller coaster as I grappled with my feelings, confronted my parents, and wrestled with guilt and anger. In the end, I made a decision. I chose not to attend any more family gatherings. I simply couldn't endure the fake affection and underlying tension any longer. It wasn't worth the distress it was causing me. My decision effectively cut off my parents' access to the inheritance. Despite the tormenting guilt, I felt an odd sense of relief. After much contemplation, I decided to speak to my grandparents about the entire situation. I was anxious about their reaction, but I felt it was necessary. I owed them an explanation. I mustered the courage to visit my grandparents and lay bare the truth. I detailed my parents' sudden interest in reigniting our relationship, their transparent attempts to manipulate me, the confrontation, and ultimately, my decision. Surprisingly, my grandparents were remarkably understanding. They expressed their dismay at my parents' behavior, sincerely apologized for inadvertently causing me stress, and fully respected my choice. They voiced their pride in the person I had become, despite the challenges I have faced. Most importantly, they made it abundantly clear that they did not want their will to be a tool for manipulation or greed. In an unexpected twist, my grandparents chose to revise their will. They excluded my parents from the inheritance, opting instead to distribute it among various charities they had been supporting for years. They believed this was a better use of their wealth, avoiding further conflict and greed within the family. They expressed gratitude for my honesty and reassured me that their love for me was not contingent on the whims of a will. Their understanding and love overwhelmed me, lifting an immense burden off my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt free. I was no longer a pawn in my parents' game. I had broken free, and it was profoundly liberating. Upon sharing my decision with my parents, they were understandably furious, blaming me for their loss. A pang of guilt momentarily gripped me, but I swiftly brushed it off. I reminded myself that I was not responsible for their greed or their choices. Now, I am finally at peace. I managed to escape the toxic environment that had been suffocating me, and I am eagerly looking forward to moving on from this ordeal. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to all of you on Reddit for being a part of my journey and helping me navigate this challenging situation. Your support and encouragement empowered me to stand up for myself in a situation where I was being used as a pawn for financial gain. It is truly commendable that I decided to talk to my grandparents about this matter. In the end, my grandparents chose to do what they felt was right. They donated their money to charity instead of allowing it to fuel the greed and ulterior motives of others. My parents were the ones who introduced deceit into the equation and ultimately paid the price for their actions. It's evident that you made sincere efforts to mend your relationship with your parents. You confronted them about your feelings, their behavior, and their lack of remorse, which confirmed their true intentions. You had every right to refuse to be a part of a charade, and your grandparents' understanding of the situation further validates your choice. It's truly unfortunate that your parents only showed interest in rekindling the relationship when money was involved. Their inability to offer a sincere apology when confronted speaks volumes. You took control of the situation, made a tough decision, and it's heartening to hear that your grandparents supported you. On another note, I'm a 27-year-old woman and soon to be married to the man I've been with for 6 years, Josh, a 29-year-old man. We've weathered various challenges together, strengthening our bond over time. We are both overjoyed about our impending marriage and the prospect of embarking on a new chapter in our lives together. I had chosen to take Josh's last name, a tradition in our society that resonates with me. Despite its lack of universal acceptance, I have always appreciated the idea of sharing a name with him and officially becoming a part of his family. I find comfort in the recognition of our unity. When I shared this decision with Josh, he was supportive and understanding, which only deepened my love and respect for him. His unwavering support reinforced my choice, giving me the confidence to embrace it fully. However, when I excitedly shared my decision with my friends and family, their reactions were unexpected. My fiercely independent and feminist mother expressed her disappointment, believing that I was setting a poor example for my younger sisters by seemingly surrendering my identity. My father, though more understanding, appeared concerned about the potential impact on my relationship with my mother and sisters. Even my friends, most of whom identify as feminists, reacted strongly. They accused me of perpetuating patriarchal norms and believed that by taking Josh's last name, I was sending a message that a woman needed a man to define her identity. I attempted to explain that this was my personal choice, a way to add to my identity rather than relinquish it. I emphasized that feminism was about choice and respecting others' decisions, even if they differed from their beliefs. Their negative reactions left me feeling guilty and uncertain about my decision. I started doubting myself, wondering if I was unknowingly participating in a patriarchal tradition. I found myself torn between my personal happiness and the fear of alienating those who mattered to me. Josh, too, was upset about their responses and offered to talk to them on my behalf. However, I felt it was something I needed to handle independently, despite my determination. Despite my conviction, I found myself feeling unheard and confused in the midst of conflicting opinions. Your overwhelming support and the invaluable advice you've provided have offered me a fresh perspective on my situation, for which I am genuinely grateful. I have always believed in open dialogue as a means to resolve issues, so taking some of your advice to heart, I decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with my friends and family. I invited them over to our place, hoping that a comfortable and familiar environment would help ease the tension and encourage an open and respectful conversation. I prepared myself to truly listen to their perspectives and explain my viewpoint in a non-confrontational manner, hoping that we could reach a mutual understanding despite our differing opinions. When they arrived, the tension in the room was palpable. I attempted to break the ice with some light-hearted conversation, but it felt like walking on eggshells. Finally, I gathered my courage and broached the topic at hand. I conveyed how their initial reactions had hurt me, making me feel as though they were questioning my beliefs and principles. I emphasized that my choice to take Josh's last name was a deeply personal decision that did not compromise my commitment to feminism and gender equality. I requested that they respect my decision, just as I respected their diverse viewpoints. Their reactions were mixed. My mother appeared relieved that I didn't think she was doubting my beliefs. She clarified that her concern was for how society might perceive me, and she wished to shield me from potential prejudice. My sisters remained silent, listening but not expressing much. My friends, on the other hand, seemed somewhat taken aback. I don't think they anticipated me standing up to them like this. Despite the discomfort, I felt the conversation was necessary. I sensed a weight lifting off my chest. But then things took an unexpected turn. Lydia, one of my friends known for her strong feminist beliefs, took it upon herself to argue against my choice. She labeled it as regressive and accused me of conforming to societal norms. She insisted that if I were a true feminist, I would retain my maiden name as a symbol of rebellion against patriarchal norms. Her words stung, and I found myself wavering, questioning my beliefs and decisions. Was I, in fact, being regressive? Was I unconsciously trying to fit into societal norms? The self-doubt began creeping in again. The rest of the evening became a blur. I felt emotionally drained and exhausted. I excused myself and retreated to my room, leaving them to see themselves out. Josh was incredibly supportive, but I felt as though I had hit a wall. I began to contemplate whether I should reconsider my decision in order to maintain the peace. First and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to all of you for your incredible support and thoughtful advice. It has been a guiding light during this challenging period. Following that uncomfortable confrontation, I spent a few days in introspection, attempting to navigate my thoughts and emotions. I found myself grappling with a constant question. Was I compromising my principles? Was it wrong for me to want to take my future husband's name? I shared my concerns with Josh, and he, as always, was understanding. He reassured me of his unwavering support, regardless of the decision I made. To gain clarity and a broader perspective, I decided to seek professional help. I scheduled an appointment with a counselor, hoping it would provide the clarity I needed. The counseling session proved to be enlightening. We delved into my feelings, guilt, conflict, and doubts. The counselor helped me realize that the essence of feminism lies in choice, the freedom to be who you want to be and do what makes you happy, free from societal norms. She emphasized that my decision to take Josh's last name was not a submission to a patriarchal society. Instead, it was a personal choice that brought me genuine joy. Her words resonated deeply with me, instilling a renewed sense of clarity and confidence. I understood that I wasn't relinquishing my identity. I was choosing to enrich it. Taking Josh's last name symbolized our unity and commitment, a choice that was empowering and deeply meaningful. Feeling assured about my decision, I shared this newfound clarity with Josh. He was relieved and glad that I had found peace amidst the chaos. With his unwavering support, I knew I had all I needed. However, I remained concerned about my friends and family, especially my mother and sisters. I didn't want this issue to strain our relationships, so I decided to write them a letter, expressing my thoughts and feelings, hoping they would understand. After days of reflection and internal debate, I made a definitive decision. I chose to take Josh's last name, as we had planned. I felt a newfound conviction that this decision was right for me. It didn't diminish my identity or beliefs. Instead, it reaffirmed my right to make personal choices and live life on my terms. I felt like I had reclaimed a part of myself that had been lost in the midst of the conflict. Determined not to let others' opinions sway me from my chosen path, I penned down a heartfelt letter to my friends and family. In it, I poured out my thoughts and emotions, explaining why I had chosen to take Josh's last name and how it in no way diminished my standing as a feminist or independent woman. I expressed my love and respect for my friends and family, hoping they could find it in their hearts to respect my decision. After sending out the letters, I waited with bated breath for their responses. It took a few days, but the responses started trickling in. My mom was the first to call. Her voice was choked up as she apologized for not understanding my perspective sooner. She acknowledged her mistake in questioning my choice and promised to support me moving forward. My sisters followed suit, offering their apologies and support. However, Lydia, the friend who had been most vocally opposed to my decision, didn't reach out. On the other hand, a few of my other friends did, apologizing for not understanding my point of view earlier. Their responses were a relief. While there were still some unresolved issues, it seemed like my relationships would mend with time. The overall tone was understanding and apologetic, and I felt reassured that I wasn't losing my friends or family over this issue. This experience taught me that personal decisions can have far-reaching implications. However, at the end of the day, it's essential to stay true to ourselves and our beliefs. I am thankful to all of you who stood by me, giving advice, sharing your experiences, and offering words of encouragement. I know the road ahead may still have a few bumps, but I am prepared to face them. I've learned that while it's crucial to value and consider the opinions of those we love, we must not let them overshadow our personal truth. As a staunch feminist, I wholeheartedly believe in the power of personal choice, and that's what feminism is all about. Our identities are not defined by our names, but by who we are and what we stand for. By standing up for my personal choice, I've demonstrated my belief in personal freedom and empowerment, which is a strong feminist statement in itself. I won't let anyone make me believe otherwise. I handled this situation with grace and strength, and I admire myself for it. This situation was undoubtedly tough. It's clear I value my relationships and didn't want to hurt my loved ones, but it's equally important to respect my choices. Relationships should not be contingent on making decisions that align with others' views all the time. True feminism promotes choice, and I have every right to make decisions that bring me happiness. I'm glad I found clarity and stood up for myself. It took courage to do what I did, and I respect myself for it. I am not alone, and I appreciate all the support I received. Thank you all for tuning in to today's stories. If you have a story of your own that you'd like to share, please email us at the address provided in the description. If you'd like to be featured, let us know, and we'll pin your comment at the top. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support truly helps the channel. See you in the next one.